Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Connections by TalentStore. My name is Arun. I'm the founder of TalentStore, and today we have Yogesh Agiwal, founder of Crossover Leadership Journeys, and he's calling in all the way from India. So, Crossover is really one of our few international providers on TalentStore, and I'm really excited to be speaking to you, Yogesh. Welcome. Uh, you know, uh, Maybe as a way to kick off, I just want to get a sense of your background. What led you to kind of start crossover? Was
Yes,
there a specific point in your career that you decided, okay, I think this is the this is the path for
yes,
me.
yes.
So I just want to
Uh,
get a little bit more understanding, and then we can move from there.
yes, yes. So Arun, thank you so much for having me. All the way from Malaysia. It is always a pleasure to meet you and talk to you. So I come. I know I'm not a trainer or a leadership coach from the beginning. I'm a computer engineer by
Mm,
qualification.
okay.
I used to work in Wipro for a very long time. I worked in Wipro,
Yep.
which is a very big, large international Indian-based company, and
Yep.
I used to be on the IT side of Wipro. And in
Okay.
2004, we were 20 of us who got a award from our chairman called Azim Premji, and
Okay.
it was a like very few managers got it, so we were like in limelight, and we were asked to go and talk to different people about what are the best practices of leadership. And
Okay.
when I started going and sharing with the people, the trainer would tell me that whatever you're sharing is being talked about by Richard Boyd, Annie McKay. And I used to borrow the books, and then I realized that there is so much of psychology that is available in academics which is not being given to business. And then I
Okay.
started reading more about it, and then I started bringing more of my examples. A combination of psychology on one side and business on other side was a fantastic combination for the participant. And I
Right.
started doing that, and then I got the award again from Premji in 2006, and which
Ah,
was like
nice.
nobody had got it twice at that time. So then they asked me to do a podcast like this, a video with and then it was shown to a lot of employees, and I became a very popular leader who would talk about psychology and business together, meaning how can you use that to work with your clients, with your team members, with your other
Okay.
colleagues in the organization. So in 2009, our head of HR said that we have seen you for so many years, so why don't you come and join the leadership department? And I said that giving a lecture is easy, but running a department would need a lot of like credentials and your
Yeah.
certification, and that is where my journey started formally in 2009. And I
Mhm.
started getting certified on various certification like Franklin Covey,
Okay.
DDI, Crescom, and I
Yep.
did that for 7 years. And since I came from a business background, I would never do a program that didn't add a business impact. So I
Okay.
would go and talk to my colleagues, business colleagues who were with me earlier to tell me about your business challenge, and I'll do a program to help you with that. Whether it is a
Yep.
customer satisfaction issue, it's a attrition issue, it's an engagement issue, you tell me. And I
Okay.
did that for 7 years, and it was fantastic. We could see the business results, and we would never do a one-day program. We would always do a longer intervention where people, uh,
Yeah.
learn in the classroom, but go and apply it in real life. And
Mm.
after that 7 years at Wipro, I had like been with Wipro for 15 years. Kids had grown up also, and I really didn't had a major need to go and work somewhere. So I said,
Okay.
if I can take this experience to outside it, Wipro, it can be so advantageous to the market. And
Yeah.
today I'm glad that
Yep.
we are talking to Talent Store, because we could now take whatever I was doing first in Wipro to India, now India to some other countries, and we're already doing in many other countries. So that was my big inspiration of really
Yeah.
bringing that business aligned leadership development across different domains, different sectors, different levels in India. Yeah, so that's like
No, I
my
mean,
story of what we started in crossover. Yeah.
okay. I mean, yeah, I think always, from my understanding also, when I started in GE, I think it's that strong business connect, right? Where you really create solutions for business impact. So I really like that part of it, what you said.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we forget that there is an underlying root cause that we're trying to solve for
Yes.
any client that we interact with, right? Whether
Yes.
it's a leadership program or a team building or a sales, coaching session, whatever,
Yes.
there's always some kind of underlying issue that the client is dealing with, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so my second question is really like, you spent pretty much your entire professional career in Wipro. Um,
Yes.
and how did you find it when you started crossover, when you started to probably service other businesses, other clients out there? Was it easy for you to understand their context because you were so involved in one industry, one organization for so long,
Yes.
right? I
Yes.
asked this question because uh, this is something that sometimes I face difficulties with, right?
Yes.
I tend to always look at things from a GE angle, right?
Yes.
But obviously, I cannot assume everyone has that philosophy, right? So, how was
Yes.
it for you, and how did you handle that transition?
Yes, yes. So Arun, a very valid question, and what we have realized is that no matter which industry you go in, and then the underlying issue is with people.
Yep.
And so what we usually go is to look at the culture side of the organization, meaning how is uh, the organization organized in terms of what is the leadership, how long have
Hmm.
they been in the business, what is the
Okay.
current interaction with the leadership with the people, what are the current initiatives that have been running in the organization, what have they done in the past, so we essentially don't quickly start off any program. I would
Yep.
say that at least, like today morning, I was with a client in Kerala. We've been discussing with them for 4 months, and they are very excited to start the program, and we are not starting. We are saying that we still want to know more, and they are saying no, start the program. And today, after 4 months, what they came to us with the program is actually not required in the sense
Yeah.
it is more of a process issue. So the point is that we spend a lot of time in understanding their world, and
Hmm.
with a nice psychological base. So once we get to know, and then we start systematically doing a pilot program with a certain level.
Yep.
Because one of the other thing that we found is going to be helpful is not doing too many things at the same time in the beginning. Yeah,
Right.
because human beings in general have their own way of thinking, right? And they get more inspired by their colleague rather than by somebody outside from crossover. So what we
Sure.
say is that let the participant experience it, let them try for some things, and then let them go and tell the other colleagues that, oh, that was a good program. Why don't you go and
Right.
say talk to Arun and get crossover to come
Yeah.
and do the next batch for them. So it
Yep.
is, in nutshell, Arun, it's about spending time with the organization's leadership,
Right.
which I feel that most training companies don't spend enough time. They very quickly go and start delivering programs, and maybe
Yeah.
they do a wrong program, and then the participant goes back and tell others that, oh, that program wasn't effective, and nobody wants to come back again. Yeah, so it's
Exactly.
worth
Yeah. I,
investing your time in the beginning. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's that is that mindset of serving the,
Yes.
the client, right? Rather than
Yes.
just getting a transaction done with them, right?
Yes. Yes.
Uh, I'm very curious to understand the training or the learning and development space in India, right? I think a lot of our audience that is probably watching this is from Malaysia and at least from Southeast Asia. How do you think uh, it differs? I'm not so sure if you know a lot of the context about L&D in this part of the world, but how has it evolved in India? Like over the years, when you were in Wipro to today, like has there been very big shifts in the industry?
So one thing, Arun, I am observing is that over last maybe 5 to 7 years, predominantly companies are realizing that it's good to develop people internally rather than hiring from outside as much as possible.
Okay.
So because the cost of hiring a wrong candidate or the loss of
Yeah.
the existing candidate who has a culture fit is a
Yep.
big loss to the organization. So I am seeing a big shift in the
Okay.
investment in the Indian companies. The mindset of And the second thing I am seeing in the Indian landscape is that lots of companies who are Indian companies are now establishing their offices across the world. So we are going different places.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there are companies outside India who are establishing offices in India. So it's
Okay.
like a both way. So companies
Yeah.
are realizing that. So like for example, we do a lot of this cultural assessment for the people who are going abroad, and the people who are coming to India. We are doing that so that if I go to Malaysia, it is good for me to take my assessment that how close I am with Malaysian culture.
Yep.
So that report gives me that idea. So I am seeing that the companies are realizing the importance of training in L&D space. And
Mm.
also, what one more thing I am seeing is that L&D is getting very closer to the business now,
Okay.
compared to maybe 7 years ago, where I think L&D would keep doing their stuff and business would sometimes just nominate and they will send people. But now I am seeing that L&D is wanting to talk to business more and
Sure.
ask them, what are some of your challenges that you want us to address. So there's
Yeah.
two things I'm seeing as a big shift in last 7 years.
I would say very similar here. I think in a
Yes.
sense, when I was in GE, we always thought of HR and L&D as more of a support function rather than a strategic function that
Yes.
helps the business achieve the overall objective, right?
Yes.
But I think towards the end of my time there, I could see that HR was playing a lot more strategic role, right?
Yes.
For example, if you want to achieve a certain revenue target for the year,
Yes.
then how do you position your people to achieve that? Do we need to hire
Yes.
more? Do we need to get better talent? So
Yes.
I think they were starting to get more involved in the strategic elements rather than the business leaders telling them, okay, I just need to hire 50 people more. Go and help me
Yes.
do that. you know,
Yes. Yes.
um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I think that's consistent. I think because of that cost of hiring, I think we also saw
Yes.
the same, where a lot of Malaysian organizations have started to move expatriates back to their home
Yes.
countries because the
Yes.
cost is just way too high,
Yes.
and the margins are tighter because of competition, etc. So,
Yes. Yes.
uh, okay, I mean, so not a lot of difference. I think one thing that is different is I always tend to see is that the Indian clients that we've spoken to over the years, they seem to be very mature in their understanding of L&D,
Yes.
right? So they
Yes.
are very clear on what they want to achieve. Um,
Yes.
more so than people in this part of the world. I think in this part of the world we are still thinking about, okay, how do we generally train people, right?
Yes.
But when I speak to Indian clients, sometimes I get a sense that they are very clear. Okay, this is what I want to achieve. Can you
Yes.
achieve this for us?
Yes.
Is that what you see as well?
So, Arun, while you're sharing this about Indian client, I'm very happy about your impression about them. But if you look at, the breadth that India has, there are
Oh, of
still
course.
many people, many companies who don't know what they want. And what we have
Sure.
done at Crossover, Arun, is that the way we have solved the problem is that instead of we going and telling the customer that you tell us what you need and we'll come back to you with a design, we
Yeah.
tell them that we have this four level programs, one for the senior leadership, one for the mid level, one for the front line, and one for the campus hires. And for
Okay.
each level, we have, with our experience, said that what are the competencies of that level. So for example,
Mm.
at a senior leadership, you need to know about change management, you need to know about
Yep.
strategy, you need to know about decision making. So we have put a 6 months program for that. At a
Okay.
mid level, we know that they get pressurized from the top and the bottom. So we have put programs like emotional intelligence. How do you use communication as a source of motivation to people? How well are you organized to give your time to the senior management and the next level people? For the
Yep.
front line, we have put things like ownership and accountability, performing with productivity. So, what
Mm.
happens with this approach, Arun, is the moment I show them this four programs of six months each, the person starts to think in a very systematic manner. They start seeing that,
Mm.
oh, this is nice. I think if I do this at the bare minimum, I'll have better quality people,
Yep.
versus you don't show him anything, yeah, and then he doesn't know and he's not able to visualize what we will do, and you come back and show
Yeah.
something, and by that time the whole enthusiasm is kind of down. Here what happens is, in our first meeting itself, they almost find it very interesting. They said, oh, this is fantastic, let me go and talk to my other colleagues and
Yeah.
come back to you. So we usually kind of come to a final decision in maybe 3 or 4 meetings max,
Right.
where they don't know what to do. Yeah.
Okay.
So that is our
No.
approach. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I mean, I for the audience sake, I mean, I have definitely seen a lot of your solutions. I've seen some of your decks that
Yeah.
you provide to clients, and it's very detailed. I think you've really thought through the different levels and
Yeah.
understood some of the gaps. You know, just by you explaining it to me just now,
Yes.
I I get a sense because I remember my time in a large organization.
Yes.
I can immediately relate to what you said, like people in
Yes.
the middle get pressed from the top, pressed from the bottom,
Yes.
and everything. So how did you design that? Like, was it something that you learned from Wipro, or was it something over time you kind of iterated, you kind of saw what clients wanted, and then you ultimately designed this framework that was translatable for most organizations, obviously. But
Yes.
was that something that came over time? How did that come about?
So that's a very interesting question, Arun. And I must tell you that I never thought that I will become an entrepreneur, start my own company. I never had this dream in my mind at all. Yeah. Like there are a lot
Yeah.
of people who always had
Yeah.
this passion to start, right? So I
Yeah.
remember in 2013 when I was, one of my very close friend, he runs an IT company in Hyderabad, and
Okay.
it was a Saturday, and we were to go out for dinner together. So he said that, why don't you come to my office and then we'll go from there. And so I reached his office at 4 o'clock, and I saw like a lot of people working on some issue that was going on, and I asked him that. How do you train these people, like, and I was like listening to one call with the customer, and the customer was like screaming, and these people are not able to handle them. And I asked
Okay.
my friend who is the CEO of the company, I said, how do you like train them? I said, I mean, we don't train them. And I said, no, you must be doing something for them. He said, once in a while we get a trainer, and he does a program. And then I said, is there a follow through about this with them? He said, no. And then said, can I talk to one of these people? He said, yes. And I asked them, which is the program you did last? And nobody could even remember the name of the program. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I very jokingly told him that, tell me, what is like, he was having about 400 people in the company. And I said, how are you organized? He said, to me, I have 6 direct reports who are like directors. And then I have got uh, general managers, and then the project managers and the project leader. And I
Yeah.
said that, can I do something for them? Like, not really a training program, but I can meet them next Saturday and kind of talk to the director level people. Yeah. And I did a 90-minute session for those people. And I talked about, at a director level, what generally I would expect somebody
Yeah.
to work on. And
Yeah.
that in my mind was the competency that I was thinking about. And that was a hit. They loved it, and they said that, can we have one more round with Yogesh? And then it started like the next level, and it was very informal, about a 6 months, every Saturday going
Yeah.
for like an hour or so. And that kind of tell me in my mind that I think what should be there for every level, what should be there for the
Mm.
director level, what should be there
Mm.
for the mid level. And then I think after 6 months I jokingly told my friend that, if I quit Wipro, would you give me work? And he said, are you serious? I said, I don't know. I mean, I can think about it. And then we actually became serious. And, that was my first, you should say, thinking about starting my own company. Because if you get your first customer, even before you start the custom company, it was a great start. And I think
Yeah.
then no looking back, around now and then I think, as you said, we kept refining it better and better. So when
Okay.
we went to the first 10 clients, they said, for our director, can you add this element of execution excellence? Some
Yeah.
clients said, can you put something on becoming like a coach, leader as a coach? Then somebody said, can
Right.
you put something on, say, the talent part of it, like career conversation? So we put that. So we
Yeah.
kept adding. So it was like started with my own thinking with that experience, but eventually it became like, and even today, as Arun, that we have an in-house content team even after 8 years. And a lot of
Mm,
people wonder that why do you still have a content team? And I keep telling them that we don't want to stop here. We want to constantly keep refining the content, constantly keep
yeah,
adding more competency, so that when we go to the client, we are very relevant for them actually.
yeah.
Yeah. So
No,
that,
that's
that,
that's
that that's
very.
my story.
Thank you for sharing. I mean, um, so then just a few last questions before we wrap up. I mean,
Yes.
now with you being on Talent Store and being based in India, uh, how for example, if a client wants to reach out, wants to connect, wants to run one of your programs, do you
Yeah.
tend to do a lot more of your programs virtual, physical, just to give you some context? I mean, a lot of the Malaysian clients tend to prefer face to face. They tend to prefer physical. We all thought that uh, the COVID situation would allow people to be a bit of a balance. Like, I mean, some people would want physical, some people would want virtual. But we tend to see now with the data that pretty much 90% of clients want to go 100% back to face to face. It's not a 50-50, which we thought would be the case. Lah. So, in your case, being in India and potentially reaching customers in Malaysia in the region, how would you execute if you were given the opportunity for a client here?
Yes, yes, Arun, very good question, and I'm very thankful, and I'm very happy that a platform like Talent Store is getting access to us. And I think the biggest challenge for a lot of customers will be finding companies like crossover, and I think
Yeah.
Talent Store is going to be a great place for where they can find. But this idea of working with the countries outside India came in by our Indian companies itself actually, and I must tell you how. Many of our
Okay.
clients have got offices across the world where they have acquired companies in those countries, and
Sure.
we used to discuss with these companies that what do you do with them. And many places
Mhm.
we had like 10 people in Dubai and 15 people in
Yeah.
UK and 20 people in Germany. And we kept
Mhm.
thinking that, should we send somebody to do in-person session there? But it was not working out from a number of people angle. And
Sure.
then they said that, and then COVID came in at that same time. And most
Yeah.
training companies, what they did, Arun, is that they started in the panic taking the same content and started delivering virtual. And
Yeah.
that's a big mistake that a lot of training companies did. And that is where the
Okay.
virtual experience was not great, and we didn't do that. So we almost waited for a couple of months to redesign the entire content. So we have two separate content today, one for in
Okay.
person, one for virtual. And what I mean by that is that even before we start a virtual program, we actually do a orientation of the virtual approach, meaning how
Okay.
do you go into a breakout room? How do you use a
Yeah. Yeah.
whiteboard? So
Yeah.
we are like using so many things, elements, so that people are very clear about it. Yeah. And then
Okay.
each program is designed in such a way that the people get a chance to, like in a virtual mode, though you don't experience that there is anything they're missing of in person.
Yeah.
So our experience in last, I think, 5 years that we have been doing virtual, we have found a very huge level of engagement there, which even
Okay.
today some clients are like almost decided to be virtual only. They are in fact not wanting to do in person. Yeah, so which is a very
Right.
good thing for us, because that gives us leverage to go
Yeah.
across the tap
Definitely.
of facilitators. But if you
Yeah.
were to ask me to, we do send our facilitator across the world, so people go to other countries to deliver. So it's absolute
Sure.
no problem. Malaysia is like not very far from India. We just like
Yeah.
3-4 hours to be there.
Yeah.
So in fact, if I go from Hyderabad to Delhi, it's 2 hours 40 minutes. Same time to go to Malaysia. So for me, I don't think it's a big
Yeah.
thing to come to get our people to come and deliver. But I
Cool.
think we should tell our Malaysian clients to try one virtual session with us and and see it for
No. No. No.
themselves.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the reason why is exactly what you mentioned, right? I think is that level of engagement uh,
Yes.
was not at the level that they expect, right? So then,
Yes.
when the opportunity came to go back to physical, then obviously they went back to that
Yes.
because
Yes.
they felt that the engagement levels were much higher. So I think if
Yes.
you
Yes.
if you can solve that problem, then
Yes.
there is always the avenue, because I think you're right. I mean, even for a lot of the clients that we serve, a lot of them are on hybrid working environments where they
Yes.
some work at the
Yes.
office, some may work at home.
Yes.
So getting
Yes.
everyone in one central location is difficult.
Yes.
But it ultimately, the L&D person or the HR person is always thinking, okay, are they going to actually pay attention? Are they going to be
Yes.
engaged?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that
Yes.
that that if you can solve that problem, then I think you take
Yes. Yes.
away obstacle, or yeah, obstacle for the HR person to overcome, right?
Yes, yes. Some
Um,
of the players, Arun, what we also recommend is that doing the first session in person, and then if it
right.
is a 6 months journey, do the remaining four,
Sure.
virtual, and then the last one again in person. It's a very fantastic model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
So
I agree. I did that approach in GE even before the pandemic, while I was still there, and I
yeah,
thought it was effective lah. I didn't feel
yeah,
like I was shortchanged in a way,
yeah,
like by not. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, we are almost at the end of our chat. I just want to thank you, Yogesh,
yes,
for firstly finding us through a mutual friend,
yes,
and
yes,
and joining us. I think I it was over one call that we kind of communicated what we did in TalentStore, and you kind of saw the value. So I'm very grateful to have more partners outside of Malaysia, because I think that
yeah,
indicates that the platform is serving not only a local need but also an
yes,
international need, right? Because I think we all
yes,
need to be able to expand our reach outside of our
yes,
home countries to be able to
yes.
execute for different clients, and I think that makes us stronger as a result, right?
Yes, yes, and Arun, also, at Crossover, as you saw with us, that we are a very partner-driven company. I mean, we love to partner
Yes.
with companies, so we have tied up with Emeritus, Lead Up Universe, a lot of companies, Jombe in India also, and companies
Yep.
who are across the world. So we are absolutely delighted because at the end, it's a value for the customer.
Yep.
The customer, frankly, will not at some point care about whether Yogesh is from Talent Store or is from Crossover. It's just the value to the
Yep.
client. That's what I look at it. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. So thank you so much, Yogesh, for the time today, taking this podcast with us. This is something actually we do on a weekly basis for the audience, and it's all about connecting and informing our audience on the different people that are on the platform, different providers, and also
Sure.
what their value proposition is, right? So this is something that we want to continue to do weekly for the whole of 2024, so that
Sure.
Malaysians or anyone who's tuning in can understand what you guys are doing, and if they resonate, then hopefully they reach out to you via Talent Store, and
Sure.
you get to build that network, right? So thank you
Yes.
so much, Yogesh. I hope you found value in today's discussion.
Oh yeah,
um,
Arun, it's such a joy to meet you always. Because you are such a easy to have a conversation with. So it's always a pleasure to meet you. In fact, not only me, but everybody enjoys your conversation both on email and on in person because you have a nice warmth in everything that you write or you speak. So you are naturally blessed with that, and it's a pleasure to always be with you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks, Yogesh. Thank
Okay.
you, everyone. Hopefully we see you in our next episode, and looking forward to more discussions, more interactive discussions like this, yeah, throughout the year. So,
Sure.
for the audience who sees this, if you see it in the next couple of weeks, happy Chinese New Year. It's definitely a big celebration in Malaysia. So I wish you all a prosperous New Year, and looking forward to our next time. Right. Thank you, everyone.